How Crazy Horse Earned His Name. The Lakota Legend. On the windswept plains of the American West, a legend arose from the heart of the Lakota tribe. Crazy Horse. Journey with us through the life of this iconic warrior. Subscribe to Native Legends and History Stories for more captivating tales from the past. Dawn breaks over the vast expanse of the Great Plains, painting the sky with streaks of orange and purple. A Lakota village stirs to life. Teepees silhouetted against the rising sun. Smoke curls lazily from campfires as the people awaken. Their voices mingling with the cheerful sounds of children playing and the rhythmic beat of a distant drum. The Lakota, also known as the Tetons, were a nomadic people, their lives intrinsically linked to the buffalo and the changing seasons. They followed the great herds across the plains, their survival dependent on these magnificent creatures. The buffalo provided them with food, clothing, and shelter, everything they needed to thrive in this challenging environment. Their homes were teepees, conical structures crafted from buffalo hides, stretched over wooden poles. These ingenious dwellings were lightweight and portable, perfectly suited to their nomadic lifestyle. When it was time to move, the people could quickly dismantle their teepees and pack them onto travois, sled-like contraptions pulled by horses or dogs. The Lakota possessed a deep reverence for the natural world. They believed that everything, the animals, the plants, the wind, the sky, possessed a spirit awaken. These spirits were to be honored and respected, for they held the power to influence the lives of the people. The Lakota expressed their reverence through ceremonies and rituals. They danced to honor the spirits, prayed for guidance and protection, and offered gifts to show their gratitude. One of their most important ceremonies was the sun dance, a grueling test of endurance and devotion. During this ceremony, young men would dance for days without food or water, their bodies pierced with skewers, attached to the sacred Sundance pole. This act of sacrifice and self-denial demonstrated their commitment to their people and their spiritual beliefs. Inside a cozy teepee, bathed in the warm glow of a fire, a young mother gives birth to a son. The child is unusual, his hair and skin lighter than those of his fellow Lakota. His mother, gazing at her newborn with love and wonder, names him Among the Trees. But due to his distinctive appearance, she also calls him Light Hair or Curly. These nicknames stick, becoming a part of his identity. Light Hair grows into a lively and inquisitive boy, his days filled with the boundless energy of youth. He explores the world around him, his laughter echoing across the plains as he races with his friends, Lone Bear and E-Dog. They play games that test their skills and courage, honing the abilities they will need as Lakota warriors. One of their favorite games is Buffalo Chase. One boy pretends to be a buffalo, while the others chase him on horseback, attempting to hit him with blunted arrows. The buffalo dodges and weaves, trying to avoid being tagged, while the hunters practice their aim and horsemanship. Light Hair is not always the fastest or the strongest, but he possesses a quiet determination that sets him apart. He never gives up. Even when faced with challenges, his friends admire his perseverance and instinctively follow his lead, recognizing in him a natural leader. Light Hair's father, Crazy Horse the Elder, is a respected medicine man, a keeper of Lakota traditions and spiritual wisdom. He guides his son, teaching him about the healing powers of plants, the significance of dreams, and the importance of honoring the spirits. Crazy Horse the Elder is a loving and patient father, always willing to answer his son's questions and share his knowledge. He instills in Light Hair a deep respect for Lakota customs and a strong sense of belonging to his community. Light Hair's uncle Hump is a renowned war chief, a seasoned warrior who has earned the respect of his people. Recognizing the boy's potential, Hump takes him under his wing, sharing his knowledge of warfare and survival. Hump teaches Light Hair how to track animals, use weapons effectively, and fight with courage and honor. He emphasizes the importance of respecting the enemy, even in the heat of battle. Hump and Light Hair spend countless hours together, practicing their skills and developing a close bond. Hump sees in Light Hair a quiet strength and a deep connection to the Lakota way of life, qualities that will serve him well in the years to come. As Light Hair grows, he absorbs the wisdom of his elders and the lessons of his environment. He learns the importance of community, the power of tradition, and the delicate balance between humans and nature. These formative experiences mold his character and equip him for the trials that await him on his path to becoming a legend. The tranquility of the Lakota world was shattered in 1854, not by a clash of warriors or a thunderous storm, but by a seemingly trivial incident that ignited a conflict. A lone cow had strayed from its herd and wandered into a Lakota encampment. A young Brule Lakota man, perhaps driven by hunger, perhaps by a youthful impulse, made the fateful decision to kill the animal. The seemingly insignificant act, which would become known as the catalyst for the Grattan Massacre, quickly spiraled out of control when the U.S. Army, led by the determined Lieutenant John Grattan, arrived, demanding justice and retribution. Conquering Bear, a revered Lakota chief, whose wisdom and leadership were respected throughout the tribe, stepped forward to try and resolve the situation. Peacefully, he offered several of their finest horses as compensation for the slain cow, a gesture that demonstrated the Lakota's willingness to make amends and maintain harmony with the newcomers. However, the chasm between the two cultures, coupled with the inflammatory words of a drunk interpreter who may have deliberately distorted the Lakota's message, proved insurmountable. Negotiations collapsed and the soldiers, their rifles gleaming menacingly in the afternoon sun, opened fire. Conquering Bear, the peacemaker, fell to the ground, mortally wounded in the ensuing chaos. The Lakota warriors fought back with fierce determination, and by the time the dust settled, all 30 soldiers lay dead, their bodies scattered across the blood-soaked ground. Light Hair, though still a boy on the cusp of manhood, witnessed the full horror of the Grattan Massacre. The sight of Lakota warriors and soldiers locked in a deadly embrace, the deafening roar of gunfire echoing across the plains, the heart-wrenching cries of the wounded. These images and sounds seared themselves into his young mind, leaving an indelible mark. The senseless violence, the wanton destruction of life, fueled a growing anger within him, a resentment towards the encroaching white settlers and the soldiers who acted as their protectors. But the conflict did not end there. The following year, General William Harney, a hardened military leader known for his ruthlessness, led a retaliatory expedition against the Lakota, seeking to avenge the deaths of Lieutenant Grattan and his men. What Light Hair witnessed during this attack was far more horrific, far more soul-wrenching than anything he had ever experienced before. Harney's troops descended upon a peaceful Lakota village, a place of laughter and community, and transformed it into a scene of unspeakable carnage. Over 80 Lakota, mostly women and children, who had no part in the Grattan Massacre, were brutally slaughtered. Yet it wasn't just the sheer scale of the killing that scarred Light Hair's memory and haunted his dreams. It was the depravity, the sheer inhumanity with which the soldiers treated the bodies of the slain. He saw women with their breasts savagely cut off, their once nurturing bodies desecrated. He saw scalps torn from the heads of the dead, trophies of war taken with no respect for the sanctity of life. He saw other acts of mutilation, too gruesome to describe, that violated the Lakota's deep reverence for the human body and the spirit that resided within. The sight of these atrocities filled him with a burning rage, a profound sense of injustice that would forever shape his worldview. The world, once a place of harmony and balance, where the Lakota lived in accordance with the rhythms of nature and the guidance of the spirits, now seemed a place of unimaginable cruelty and senseless violence. These traumatic experiences marked a profound turning point in Light Hair's life. He became more introspective, withdrawing into himself. The carefree laughter of his youth, replaced by a quiet determination, a steely resolve that hardened his gaze and settled upon his young shoulders. The playful boy who once chased buffalo across the vast plains with his friends was now a young man, his spirit burdened by the weight of his people's suffering, his heart heavy with the knowledge of the white man's capacity for cruelty. Seeking solace, guidance, and understanding in the wake of these tragedies, Light Hair embarked on a vision quest, a sacred ritual that had been practiced by the Lakota for countless generations. He ventured alone into the wilderness, leaving behind the familiar comforts of the village and the warmth of his family's teepee. He fasted, denying his body sustenance, and he prayed, his voice rising to the heavens, seeking a connection with the spirits. a vision that would illuminate his path forward and give meaning to the suffering he had witnessed. For days he wandered the hills and valleys, his bare feet treading upon the sacred earth, his mind focused on the task at hand. And then, as the sun dipped below the horizon on the third day, a vision came to him. A powerful dream that would shape the rest of his life. He saw lightning, its jagged forks dancing across his face, illuminating his features with an eerie glow. He felt hailstones cold and hard pelting his chest, a physical manifestation of the turmoil within his soul. He heard the roar of thunder echoing through the canyons, a powerful reminder of the forces that shaped the world around him. And then he saw bullets and arrows, symbols of the white man's violence, flying all around him, yet none could touch him. None could pierce his skin or harm his spirit. A red-tailed hawk, its wings outstretched against the crimson sky, soared above him, a symbol of protection, guidance, and the enduring spirit of the Lakota people. Finally, in the most perplexing part of his vision, he saw his own people, the Lakota he loved and would one day lead, rising from the earth, their hands reaching out to pull him down from his horse, a foreshadowing of his tragic fate. This vivid and deeply symbolic dream was interpreted by his father, Crazy Horse the Elder, and the other tribal elders as a sign that Light Hair was destined for greatness, that he was chosen by the spirits to lead his people through the turbulent times that lay ahead. He was declared a Thunder Dreamer, a sacred individual endowed with unique powers and responsibilities, a title that would both elevate him and burden him with the weight of expectations. In the rich tapestry of Lakota culture, a Thunder Dreamer was believed to be a powerful, spiritual figure, often a leader, but one who defied expectations, who charted his own course, and who acted in unconventional ways. They were expected to live a life of humility, shunning boasting and self-promotion, always putting the needs of their people above their own desires. Most importantly, they were believed to be protected from harm in the heat of battle, their bodies impervious to bullets and arrows, as long as they remained true to their calling and honored the sacred vision that had been bestowed upon them. Lightheart's vision quest and his emergence as a Thunder Dreamer marked a significant turning point in his life, a pivotal step in his journey towards becoming the legendary Crazy Horse. He was no longer just a boy who played games and learned from his elders, soaking up the wisdom of the Lakota traditions. He was now a young man with a destiny, a calling to lead his people, to defend them against the encroaching threats to their way of life, and to embody the spirit of resistance that would forever be associated with his name. Light Hair, now a young man of about 16 years old, was eager to prove himself as a warrior and live up to the expectations that came with being a Thunder Dreamer. The opportunity arose when his uncle and mentor announced a raiding party to venture into Shoshone territory. The Shoshones were a neighboring tribe with whom the Lakota had a long history of conflict, and this raid promised to be a dangerous but necessary undertaking. Light Hair prepared himself for the raid with meticulous care. He painted his face with red lightning bolts, as he had seen in his vision, and adorned his chest with symbols of hailstones. He carried his bow and arrows, a quiver filled with deadly shafts, and a 6-shooter pistol tucked into his belt. He rode a powerful war horse, its mane decorated with eagle feathers, a symbol of courage and strength. The raiding party set off under the cover of darkness, their moccasined feet treading silently upon the earth. They rode for many days, their senses alert for any sign of the enemy. Finally, they spotted a small Shoshone encampment nestled in a valley. The Lakota warriors dismounted and crept closer, their bodies blending with the shadow's hump. The leader of the raiding party whispered the plan of attack. They would strike swiftly and decisively, taking the Shoshone by surprise. Light Hair, his heart pounding with anticipation, positioned himself at the forefront of the attack. As the first rays of dawn painted the sky, the Lakota warriors charged into the Shoshone camp, their war cries echoing through the valley. The Shoshone, caught off guard, scrambled to defend themselves, but the Lakota's attack was swift and overwhelming. Light Hair, fueled by adrenaline and a fierce determination to prove himself, rode straight into the heart of the battle. He loosed arrow after arrow, each one finding its mark. He saw Shoshone warriors fall beneath his onslaught, their bodies riddled with arrows. Suddenly Light Hair felt a sharp pain in his leg. He looked down to see an arrow protruding from his calf. He had been wounded, but his spirit remained unbroken. He gritted his teeth, pulled the arrow out, and continued to fight with even greater ferocity. The Shoshone, overwhelmed by the Lakota's relentless attack, began to retreat. Light Hair, seeing an opportunity to end the battle, spurred his horse forward and charged after the fleeing enemy. He rode like the wind, his hair streaming behind him, his bow a deadly weapon in his hands. He caught up with a group of Shoshone warriors and unleashed a volley of arrows. One of the warriors fell from his horse, an arrow piercing his heart. The other warriors, seeing their comrade fall, turned and fled in terror. Light Hair, his body exhausted, but his spirit soaring, returned to the Lakota camp, where he was greeted as a hero. His fellow warriors marveled at his courage and skill, his ability to fight through pain and emerge victorious. Hump, his eyes filled with pride, clapped him on the shoulder and praised his bravery. Lightheart's performance in the Shoshone raid solidified his reputation as a fearless warrior and a worthy leader. He had proven himself in the heat of battle, demonstrating not only his skill with weapons, but also his unwavering courage and determination. The Lakota people recognized in him a leader who would guide them through the turbulent times that lay ahead, a warrior who would defend their land and their way of life. The news of Light Hair's valor in the Shoshone raid reverberated through the Lakota village, reaching every tipi and every ear. The elders, witnessing the fulfillment of his vision, quest prophecy, recognized the significance of his deeds and the promise they held for the future of their people. They convened a council, their hearts heavy with the weight of their decision, and after much deliberation, they reached a consensus. It was time for the young warrior to receive his true name, a name that would reflect his courage, his resilience, and his destiny. Word of the impending ceremony spread like wildfire, igniting a spark of excitement and anticipation within the village. When the day arrived, the entire community gathered in a vast circle, their faces etched with a mixture of reverence and eagerness. At the center of the circle, a sacred fire crackled and hissed, its smoke carrying prayers and blessings to the heavens, its flames casting dancing shadows upon the faces of the assembled throng. The air was thick with the scent of sage and sweet grass, their fragrant smoke purifying the space and inviting the benevolent spirits to witness this momentous occasion. Light Hair, adorned in his finest regalia, his body painted with symbols of his vision, Quest stood tall and proud, his eyes shining with a mixture of excitement and humility. He had proven himself worthy of a warrior's name, and he was ready to embrace the responsibilities that came with it. He looked out at the faces of his people, their eyes filled with hope and expectation, and he felt a surge of determination rise within him. He would not disappoint them. His father, Crazy Horse the Elder, stepped forward, his weathered face etched with pride and a touch of sadness. He was a medicine man, a keeper of sacred knowledge, and he understood the significance of this moment. He raised his hands, silencing the murmurs of the crowd, and began to speak, his voice strong and resonant, carrying across the hushed circle. "My son," he began, his voice filled with emotion, "you have shown great courage and strength. You have faced danger without flinching, and you have emerged victorious. You have proven yourself worthy of a warrior's name, a name that will be remembered for generations to come." He paused, his eyes locking with Light Hair's, conveying a depth of love and respect that transcended words. In that moment, father and son were connected by an invisible thread, a bond forged in shared experiences, in the love of their people, and in the traditions that had shaped their lives. "Today," he continued, his voice rising with the importance of his pronouncement, "I bestow upon you the name that has been passed down through our family for generations, a name that carries with it the weight of responsibility and the promise of greatness. From this day forward, you will be known as Crazy Horse." The name resonated through the crowd, its power palpable. Crazy Horse, a name synonymous with courage, with defiance, with the untamed spirit of the Lakota people. It was a name that would become legend, a name that would inspire awe and fear in the hearts of his enemies. Crazy Horse, his heart swelling with pride, accepted his new name with a solemn nod. He understood the honor that had been bestowed upon him, and he vowed to live up to its legacy. He would be a warrior for his people, a defender of their land and their way of life. He would be Crazy Horse the fearless, the resolute, the unconquerable. In a final act of humility and respect, Crazy Horse the Elder then relinquished his own name, adopting the humble moniker of Worm. This symbolic gesture demonstrated his deep love for his son and his willingness to step aside, allowing Crazy Horse to take his rightful place as a leader of the Lakota people. He understood that the time had come for a new generation to lead, and he had no doubt that his son was the one to carry the mantle. The ceremony concluded with singing and dancing, the entire village celebrating the rise of a new warrior, a new leader who would carry their hopes and dreams into the future. Crazy Horse's spirit soaring joined the dance's movements, fluid and powerful, embodying the strength and resilience of his people. He was ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead, knowing that he carried the name and the legacy of Crazy Horse, a name that would forever be etched in the annals of Lakota history. The drums beat louder, the singing intensified, and the dancers moved with increasing fervor, their bodies swaying like reeds in the wind, their voices rising in a chorus of celebration. Crazy Horse, caught up in the energy of the moment, felt a surge of power coursing through his veins. He was Crazy Horse, and he was ready to embrace his destiny. The years that followed Crazy Horse's naming ceremony were a time of great upheaval and change for the Lakota people. The westward expansion of the United States, driven by the lure of gold and the promise of new lands, brought them into increasing conflict with the U.S. military and white settlers. Crazy Horse, true to his name and the legacy he now carried, rose to become a prominent leader in the Lakota's resistance against this encroachment upon their ancestral lands. His courage and strategic brilliance were evident in numerous battles and skirmishes. He played a pivotal role in the Fetterman Fight of 1866, where he lured Captain William Fetterman and his troops into a deadly ambush, wiping out the entire detachment. He also participated in the Wagon Box Fight of 1867, where the Lakota, armed with repeating rifles, successfully defended themselves against a larger force of U.S. soldiers. Crazy Horse's leadership was not about seeking glory or personal gain. He always putting the needs of his people first. He was known for his humility, his quiet demeanor, and his deep respect for the Lakota traditions. He was a man of few words, but his actions spoke volumes. He inspired his warriors by example, leading the charge into battle, his body painted with the symbols of his vision quest, his war cry, a chilling reminder of the Lakota's determination to defend their way of life. Black Elk, a renowned Lakota medicine man and a contemporary of Crazy Horse, described him as a strange man and a queer man, terms that in the Lakota language denoted someone who was set apart, who possessed unique powers and a different way of seeing the world. Black Elk spoke of Crazy Horse's humility, his reluctance to boast or draw attention to himself, and his deep connection to the spiritual realm. He recounted how Crazy Horse would often go into solitude, seeking guidance from the spirits, and how he would emerge from these periods of introspection with renewed strength and purpose. Crazy Horse's leadership extended beyond the battlefield. He was a respected voice in tribal councils, offering wise counsel and advocating for the preservation of Lakota traditions. He understood that the Lakota's strength lay not only in their warrior skills, but also in their unity, their adherence to their cultural values, and their unwavering belief in the power of the spirits. However, Crazy Horse's unwavering defiance of the U.S. government and his refusal to compromise on the issue of Lakota sovereignty made him a target. In 1877, after a series of battles and negotiations, he was tricked into entering a U.S. fort under a flag of truce. Once inside, he was seized and, while resisting arrest, was fatally stabbed by a soldier. Crazy Horse's death was a devastating blow to the Lakota people, but his legacy lived on. He became a symbol of resistance, a reminder of the Lakota's indomitable spirit and their determination to defend their way of life. His name is still spoken with reverence by the Lakota people today, and his story continues to inspire those who fight for justice and freedom. Crazy Horse, the legendary Lakota warrior, may have been killed by the hands of his enemies, but his spirit lives on. His courage, his leadership, and his unwavering commitment to his people continued to inspire generations of Lakota and all those who admire the strength of the human spirit in the face of adversity. Though his life was cut tragically short, his story will forever be a powerful reminder of the importance of fighting for what you believe in, even when the odds are stacked against you. Subscribe to Native Legends and History Stories for more captivating tales of courage and resilience from the past.